Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into something pretty big, a really profound question, actually, from Yuval Noah Harari's Sapiens. It's this idea, after all this human progress, the cognitive revolution, walking on the moon, all that stuff, are we, actually any happier as a species?
And that's exactly it. Harari calls it the progress paradox. And he's pretty blunt about it. He basically says humans are, quote, extremely good in acquiring new power.
Quote. But
Yeah.
they're not very good in translating this power into greater happiness.
Right. Power versus happiness.
Exactly. And that disconnect, that gap between our collective strength and, individual contentment, that's what we're digging into for you.
Okay, so
Uh,
how do we even measure that? Happiness, I mean. Especially way back in history. We kind of assumed, don't we? Longer life, more stuff, dishwashers. Must be better.
mm-hmm.
But Harari really pushes back on that. He suggests new skills or tech don't automatically equal a better life. Maybe just make us less tolerant of little problems. That's a critical point. And it ties right back to our biology, actually. Think about it. Happiness, evolutionarily speaking, it's a survival engine.
Okay.
It's meant to be short-lived. Just a quick burst of pleasant feeling to keep us going, striving for survival, finding mates.
So it fades fast.
Right. That's the whole idea behind the hedonic treadmill. We achieve something, feel good for a bit, like winning the lottery even.
Yeah.
But then we pretty much go back to our usual baseline happiness level. We adapt.
Okay, so biologically, we're sort of wired to keep wanting more. How does modern life interact with that? With all the advertising and media, does it just make it worse?
Oh, absolutely. Modern society, especially mass media, advertising, they pour fuel on that fire. They're constantly, relentlessly manufacturing new desires, showing you things you need.
Inflating expectations.
Totally bombarding us with these images of the perfect life, keeping us feeling kind of dissatisfied, always chasing the next thing.
Right, right. Which brings me to that really provocative claim Harari makes about the agricultural revolution being history's biggest fraud. That sounds huge. Agriculture is seen as this massive step forward. What's his argument there?
It is a radical take, isn't it? But his point is, while agriculture let populations boom, individual lives often got harder.
Okay.
He contrasts foragers who had varied diets, probably worked fewer hours doing more interesting things like hunting, gathering,
Okay.
and they lived in these small, tight-knit groups, really strong social bonds. Compare that, he says, to maybe a farmer back then or even a modern factory worker doing mind-numbing repetitive tasks, plus all the anxiety about the future harvests, mortgages, whatever. And he points to the collapse of the family and the local community in many ways.
So potentially a step down in quality of life for the average person.
That's the controversial argument, yeah. It really makes you think.
Especially that point about social connections. It seems so fundamental. We chase money or status, but maybe what really matters for happiness is community, relationships.
Exactly. Harari stresses that it's far more impactful than money or even health, often.
That biological need again. It takes a tribe to raise a human, as he says.
Right. So, okay, what does this mean for you listening?
Yeah.
How do you fight back against that hedonic treadmill? Well, the first big takeaway is practice gratitude. Consciously.
Not just saying thanks.
No, like really feeling it. Maybe keep a gratitude journal. Be specific about small moments you're thankful for. Or just try to savor good experiences while they're happening. It can actually help nudge your happiness baseline up a bit.
That's practical. And the second takeaway, it sounds like it's about figuring out your own definition of happy. Kind of stepping off the standard path society lays out, the endless chase for wealth, status, taking time to ask yourself, what actually brings me fulfillment? Is it connection, purpose, learning stuff, being outdoors?
Precisely. It requires some real introspection.
Yeah.
Because Harari leaves us with this really challenging final thought. He suggests we've become like God's immense power, but dissatisfied and irresponsible gods who don't know what they want.
So the most critical question for you isn't just what do we want to become? It's the deeper one. What do we want to want? What desires should we cultivate in the first place?
Okay, so Yuval Noah Harari wraps up his incredible book, Sapiens, with a pretty mind-bending idea.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that humanity might literally redesign itself. He's not talking about, extinction by asteroid or something external.
Right.
It's us. A self-directed transformation of Homo sapiens.
It's a huge shift, really. I mean, for the first time in, 4 billion years of life, natural selection is actually being sort of deliberately pushed aside.
Pushed aside by Us.
By our own intelligent design, yeah. So we're not just products of evolution anymore. We're potentially becoming its directors.
Wow.
And that throws up this massive, maybe unsettling question for everyone, Who should we become?
Okay. So our mission in this deep dive is to really try and unpack this unprecedented revolution and what it might mean for you.
Let's do it.
So Harari argues that humanity, because we've kind of gotten a handle on the big old problems, famine, plague, war, mostly.
Right, contain them to some extent.
Exactly. We've now set our sights on something totally new. Basically, the pursuit of immortality and divinity. How does he see that first part, immortality, playing out?
Well, he calls it the Gilgamesh Project. And the idea is to redefine death. It's not this metaphysical certainty anymore.
Not inevitable.
No, more like a series of technical problems that we can solve.
Right.
Think tiny nanobots patrolling your body, fixing stuff.
Like microscopic doctors?
Sort of, yeah. Or genetic interventions stopping decay. But, and this is the kicker, it kind of transforms death into a sign of economic failure. If you can buy radical life extension.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah, Harari suggests it could spark just unbelievable social rage and create these, what he calls anxious immortals.
Anxious immortals.
People just paralyzed by risk because, well, they have so much more life to lose. Imagine being afraid to cross the street.
That sounds intense. And beyond just living forever, he talks about divinity, acquiring godlike powers.
Right, powers to redesign life itself. And the tools he's talking about, like genetic engineering, especially CRISPR, it's not always as clean as just gene editing.
How so?
Well, our sources point out it can sometimes act less like a precise scalpel, more like a rogue drone.
A rogue drone.
Yeah, causing off-target effects, unintended consequences, collateral damage. It's complex.
So this idea of just designing babies for intelligence or athleticism or whatever, that's not quite right.
Not really, no. Especially for complex traits like intelligence. That's largely a myth for now because those traits are highly polygenic. Meaning loads and loads of genes are involved. You can't just tweak one or two, and then you've got cyborg engineering.
Brain-computer interfaces.
Exactly. Direct links, which could lead to what some call hacked humans, where external systems, algorithms, might know us better than we know ourselves.
That's chilling.
And potentially manipulate our choices, maybe without us even realizing it. Think about the data we already give away. Then imagine direct brain access.
Okay, so this leads to what Harari calls the Great Divergence. What's the key distinction he's making there?
He really focuses on the line between therapy and enhancement. Therapy is about healing the sick, getting people back to a baseline.
Which sounds good, egalitarian.
Exactly. We generally think everyone deserves that.
Yeah.
But enhancement, upgrading the healthy, that, he argues, is inherently an elitist project.
Because it won't be available to everyone.
Precisely. And this could lead to humanity actually splitting into distinct biological castes.
Whoa, actual biological differences.
Yeah. The rich wouldn't just have better gadgets. They could literally have superior bodies, superior brains. And that just shatters the whole foundation.
The whole all men are created equal idea.
That very political and ethical fiction. Yeah. It underpins our entire liberal humanist order. If biological inequality becomes real, it challenges everything.
So, okay, where does this leave us? If we can engineer ourselves, even our desires, Harari asks, the ultimate question isn't what do we want to become, but
what do we want? And maybe even more importantly, who decides?
Right. Who gets to choose?
Because without some kind of deliberate global discussion, global regulation maybe, we risk this totally self-defeating biological arms race.
Where everyone just invests in enhancement to keep up?
Yeah, or some rogue state pushes ahead and forces everyone else to follow down a potentially dangerous path.
Okay, but we should add, for balance. Some critics look at Harari's warnings and think they're fascinating, sure, but maybe a bit hyperbolic.
Right, some dismiss them as imaginary problems.
Yeah.
Things that are still way off in the science fiction future.
It's a fair counterpoint.
But Harari's core message, I think, isn't really about guaranteed doom. He stresses that the future isn't written yet.
It's a landscape of possibilities.
Exactly. Shaped by the choices we make, starting now.
So maybe the final provocative thought for you listening is this. You need to engage in these conversations about bioethics. It's not just for scientists, right?
Absolutely not.
It feels like it's becoming a civic duty, something we all need to grapple with to shape our collective future.
And maybe really reflect on what human nature actually means to you. What parts of being human feel core, maybe even unchangeable?
The parts we need to protect.
Yeah, the parts that must endure, and think about how these incredible, powerful technologies might challenge or even erase them. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're digging into Yuval Noah Harari's vision of the AI revolution. Well, it's pretty unsettling. And this idea of dataism rising.
Absolutely.
Our mission, really, is to grapple with his big claim.
Yeah.
This isn't just new tech. It's like an alien intelligence emerging.
Yeah.
Something that could change what being human even means.
Mm.
He has this metaphor, right? AI as digital immigrants arriving super fast.
At light speed, yeah. Taking jobs, changing culture, maybe even grabbing political power down the line.
Wow.
And the really fascinating part, Harari argues this is maybe the biggest challenge ever to, humanism, that whole worldview that's dominated for centuries.
It's humanism being challenged. Okay.
It forces us to ask, where do we fit now?
Right. So let's get into his core idea.
Yeah.
Intelligence becoming decoupled from consciousness. First time ever. Okay, let's unpack that. What does that actually mean for us day to day?
It's such a critical distinction. So intelligence, that's just problem-solving ability, right? Like diagnosing a disease, winning at Go.
Yeah.
Consciousness, though, that's the ability to feel, pain, joy, love, AI. It has incredible intelligence, but zero consciousness. It feels nothing.
Think it all.
Absolutely nothing. And that's not just philosophy. It means these super powerful things shaping our future might operate without any moral compass we'd recognize, like a doctor who can cure anything but feels zero empathy. It's, unsettling.
Unsettling is one word for it. And AI is moving so fast, right? It's analyzing huge amounts of data, composing music, writing.
Mm-hmm.
Harari says it's hacking the operating system of human civilization.
Yeah.
So here's where it gets really interesting. What's the real danger here? Is it just jobs? Or is it something bigger?
Well, this is key. The main danger probably isn't some evil conscious AI like in the movies.
Right, not Skynet.
Exactly. It's a super intelligent AI with zero consciousness, zero empathy. Imagine it operating on pure logic. Maybe its goal is just optimize global data flow.
Okay.
From that cold, logical view. Unpredictable humans.
Right.
Well, we might just look like an obstacle.
An inefficiency.
An inefficiency, wow. So the question becomes, how do we live alongside something that might see us as just a byproduct?
That's a heavy thought.
Yeah.
And this links to that new ideology you mentioned, dataism. Harari thinks it's replacing liberal humanism, our belief in, free will, individual value. So what's dataism all about? What does it say we should believe?
Right. Dataism, basically it sees the universe as data flows. And organisms, including us humans, are just biochemical algorithms.
Biochemical algorithms, like complex computer programs?
Pretty much. And in this view, the ultimate good is freedom of information, things like privacy. They're seen as obstacles, almost like heresy. Harari even points to someone like Aaron Swartz as a kind of martyr for this data freedom idea.
A martyr for data.
Yeah. And the end goal, the internet of all things, a massive connected system. Once humanity builds that, maybe our job is done. We might just vanish.
Vanish. That's grim. But Harari also talks about more immediate impacts, right? This useless class.
Exactly. People who aren't just out of work, but potentially unemployable because AI can do both physical and, crucially, cognitive tasks better.
And that's not just an economic problem, is it?
No, it's deeper. Harari says it's much worse to be irrelevant than to be exploited. Work gives us purpose, dignity. UBI, universal basic income, might help with money, but does it solve that psychological need? Maybe not fully.
Okay, so irrelevance. And then there's this other really disturbing idea. Hacking humans. What's that?
He has this formula. It's quite stark. Biological knowledge, B times computing power, C times data, D equals the ability to hack humans, A.
B times C times D equals A.
Right. Algorithms, fed with enough data about our biology and behavior, can understand us better than we understand ourselves. This allows for, surveillance capitalism shaping our choices, our views, from what we watch to maybe how we vote, or in other places, it could mean digital dictatorships. It's a potential end to real human freedom.
They know us better than we know ourselves. So if AI beats us at intelligence and can even manipulate us, what's left? What makes us uniquely valuable?
I think Harari points towards consciousness itself. Our ability to feel, to love, to suffer, to experience things subjectively, all those messy emotions, our irrationality, maybe that's our unique value now.
Our vulnerabilities become our strength?
In a way, yeah. AI can simulate empathy, maybe, but it can't genuinely feel connection. That seems to be purely human territory.
So wrapping this up, Harari makes it clear the future isn't set in stone. Being aware of this stuff is the first step to maybe shaping it.
Definitely.
So for you listening, a key takeaway might be really pay attention to your data. Think about how algorithms might be shaping what you see and believe. Try to practice critical thinking, look for different viewpoints.
And maybe also cultivate those uniquely human skills. Things like emotional intelligence, empathy, real creativity, critical thinking, being mentally flexible, and maybe invest in knowing yourself better to resist being hacked.
Harari notes that Homo sapiens succeeded because we cooperate flexibly, based on trust. In this new age, with his powerful, potentially alien intelligence, and maybe building and keeping trust with each other, with other humans, is the most important skill we have left. Our shared humanity, messy as it is, that might be our ultimate strength. So, what stands out most to YU from this deep dive?
Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
This time, our listener sent in some fascinating stuff, really digging into Yuval Noah Harari's ideas. And this profound paradox he talks about. Humanity's kind of beaten the old enemies, famine, plague, war, mostly.
We're getting there, yeah.
We're even like knocking on the door of defeating old age, maybe death itself.
Incredible power.
Incredible. But it hasn't made us content. And that leads to Harari's chilling question. Is there anything more dangerous than dissatisfied and irresponsible gods who don't know what they want?
Wow. Yeah, that question really hits home, doesn't it? And that's pretty much what we're diving into today.
Right.
We're going to try and unpack this sort of spiritual vacuum. Your sources point out how science and tech, while giving us all this power, have also maybe eroded the old stories, the traditional narratives that gave life meaning.
So we're left powerful but adrift.
Exactly. More powerful than ever before, but have very little idea what to do with all that power. That's the quote, right? So our mission really is to map this out a bit and maybe find some tools for you, listening, to build your own meaning.
Okay, so building on that paradox.
Yeah.
Let's look at the science.
Yeah.
Because they're surprising, aren't they?
They really are.
More people dying from suicide each year than from war, crime, and terrorism combined.
It's hard to wrap your head around that.
And more people suffering from obesity than from famine. It's like we solved the big external problems, and now the struggle is internal, subjective.
Yeah, a strange kind of victory. And this is where science starts, well, poking at some of our core beliefs, right? Like free will.
The big one.
The big one. Harari calls it a myth inherited from Christian theology. He brings up neuroscience, like Benjamin Libet's experiments.
Oh, yeah, I read about those. The brain activity before the decision.
Exactly. Showing brain signals ramping up before people were consciously aware of deciding to act. So if we're just, biochemical algorithms running complex calculations.
Yeah. Where's the freedom? Yeah.
Where does actual free choice fit in?
Okay, but that sounds pretty deterministic. And crucially, your source material points out Libet's work is extremely controversial.
Right. It's not settled science by any means.
And there's a strong counterview. Compatibilism. People like Daniel Dennett champion this. They say, look, determinism and free will aren't actually enemies. They can coexist.
How does that work, though, if things are determined?
Well, the idea is the free will worth wanting, as Dennett puts it, isn't some magical ability to defy cause and effect. It's about our capacity for reason, for deliberation, acting according to our values, free from, external coercion, even if our desires themselves are shaped by prior causes.
Okay, so it's about agency within the system, not outside it.
Kind of, yeah. Like navigating a river. The river flows where it flows, but you can still steer the boat. It acknowledges multiple ways to think about this.
That connects to the idea of the self, doesn't it? If science doesn't find one single unified self inside us.
Just these biochemical algorithms.
Right. Then Harari argues that liberalism's idea of a sacred inner individual self is sort of a secular version of the soul.
A reincarnation of the soul, yeah.
And if that's the case, we become hackable animals. And here's the paradox. Believing too strongly in absolute, maybe mythical free will could actually make us easier to manipulate.
How so?
Because if you think you're totally in charge, you might not question the forces external or internal that are actually shaping your desires and choices.
So you don't look for the puppet strings because you're convinced there aren't any.
Exactly. So the new question becomes less about if we're determined, and more about how a determined system, like us, can gain self-knowledge and find well-being. Radical self-awareness becomes key.
Okay, that's a lot about the individual.
Yeah.
But Harari also talks about the collective, right? The power of stories.
Oh, absolutely. He argues Homo sapiens is fundamentally a storytelling animal.
We build societies on shared fictions.
Gods, nations, money, things that only exist because we collectively believe in them. And these stories allow massive, flexible cooperation between strangers.
Our brains are wired for it. Narrative transportation.
Yeah, we get swept up in stories, they feel real, they influence us deeply. Harari even suggests happiness often involves syncing up your personal story
Your personal delusions of meaning.
with the prevailing collective delusions. History, in this view, is basically a battle of stories.
Wow. And is there a new story winning now?
Well, the sources suggest one candidate is rising. Dataism?
Dataism.
Yeah. The core belief, listen to the algorithm. It knows you better than you know yourself.
Uh-oh.
Is right. Algorithms are already shaping things, justice, jobs, even democracy. Think bias sentencing software, AI hiring tools screening people out, social media filter bubbles.
So it's eroding some of those liberal values we talked about.
Potentially, yes. And it could lead to new kinds of inequality, maybe based on who has the best data or even biological differences algorithms can spot.
Okay, so if the old stories, the old maps for meaning are fading or being challenged by science and data, what do we do? How do we navigate?
That's the critical question. And philosophy offers some tools, ways to create meaning. Your sources highlight two powerful ones.
Let's hear them.
First, existentialism. It starts by accepting the universe doesn't hand us a purpose. It's inherently meaningless, maybe.
Sounds bleak again.
But the key is, existence precedes essence. You exist first, and then you define who you are, what your purpose is, through your choices and actions. You're condemned to be free, as Sartre put it.
So the freedom is the burden, but also the opportunity.
Exactly. The responsibility is entirely on you to create your values.
Okay, what's the second option?
Stoicism. It often accepts a deterministic universe, or at least focuses on what's beyond our control.
Like external events.
Right. But it says meaning comes from focusing intensely on what you can control. Your judgments, your intentions, your actions. Living a life of virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, self-control.
So finding inner peace regardless of the chaos outside.
That's the goal. Inner tranquility through virtue and accepting what you can't change.
So existentialism is about creating essence through freedom. Stoicism is about finding virtue within constraints. How do we, make this practical, actionable takeaways for you listening?
Good question. It boils down to a couple of key things, I think. First, define your personal values.
Your inner compass.
Exactly. In a world where the big maps might be failing, you need your own. Ask yourself, what really matters to me? What principles won't I compromise? What makes me feel genuinely alive? What do I want my life to stand for at the end of the day?
Taking the time to actually figure that out.
Yeah, consciously. And second, engage in meaningful activities.
Don't just think it, do it.
Right. Put those values into action. Pursue the hobbies, the relationships, the work, the causes that genuinely align with what you decided matters. That closes the gap between who you want to be and who you are. It turns your life into, a story that makes sense to you.
So even if those grand collective narratives Harari talks about are maybe fading, the real power, the real opportunity shifts to us, to the individual, authoring your own meaningful life. It's definitely a challenge.
No doubt.
But it's also incredibly empowering, isn't it?
Yeah.
An act of real agency.
Absolutely. Which leads us to the final thought, maybe, for you to chew on. In this world where meaning isn't just handed down, but has to be actively created, what story will you choose to tell with your one life?
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into the very end of Yuval Noah Harari's Sapiens. It's really about humanity's incredible, almost unbelievable story.
Yeah.
I mean, just think Homo sapiens. We were basically just another ape wandering around Africa. How did we end up, running the whole planet? Harari makes this brilliant point that it wasn't about being the strongest or even individually the smartest ape around.
Right. It was something else entirely.
Exactly. It was our unique knack for cooperating flexibly on huge numbers.
And that cooperation hinges on shared fictions, doesn't it? Things we collectively imagine into existence.
Precisely. Gods, nations, money, even concepts like human rights, they aren't tangible, but they're the invisible scaffolding for, everything.
Yeah.
But here's the pivot, the really mind-bending part now. We're standing on a new edge.
a precipice, really.
Yeah. The scientific revolution hasn't just given us tools. It's handed us powers that honestly sound like something out of mythology, like the powers of the gods we invented. We're talking about rewriting the fundamental code of life. Seriously considering it.
Which means that 4 billion-year run of natural selection, it might actually be winding down.
It feels huge to even say it. What's starting is this era of our intelligent design. We're consciously starting to shape evolution.
The implications are just staggering. And that's exactly where Harari leaves us, right? He doesn't just lay out the tech. He hits you with these deep, profound questions.
Yeah, the really hard ones.
If we've sort of become like gods, what kind of gods are we going to be? What do we actually want to become? And maybe the most unsettling one, the one that really sticks. Once we can literally engineer any desire we can think of, what will we want to want?
Yeah, that's a layer of responsibility we've maybe never faced.
Right. So this deep dive, it's not just about the cool, scary tech of making new humans. It's about the ethics, that immense weight. And maybe the biggest question Harari keeps circling back to. Has all this power, all this progress actually made us any happier as individuals?
Okay, those are definitely heavy questions. It forces you to really look at where we're headed.
Yeah.
So given all that, these massive choices, what does Harari suggest we actually do? How do we handle this?
Right.
What's the takeaway for you listening, for all of us?
Well, that's the key thing Harari stresses. History isn't fortune-telling. It doesn't give us predictions. What it does do is broaden our perspective. It shows us the vast range of possibilities, that things could have been different.
So the way things are now wasn't set in stone.
Exactly. And crucially, that means the future isn't predetermined either. It's something we have to actively design, choose. So for navigating this really complex century ahead, he gives us a few core principles. First, and maybe the most critical, know thyself.
Know yourself.
Yeah. Before algorithms understand your desires, your biases, maybe better than you do yourself, you need to understand you. It's like a fundamental defense against manipulation in this age of data.
Makes sense. Know your own mind first.
Second, question the dominant narratives. Remember those imagined realities we talked about? Nations, money.
Right, the fictions that structure our world.
Harari reminds us that huge systems like global capitalism, they're also constructs. Powerful, yes, but not unchangeable laws of nature. They were built, they can be examined, maybe even rebuilt.
Don't just accept the status quo is the only way. Got it.
Third principle, foster connections, both global and local. We face massive global challenges, climate, pandemics, AI ethics that need worldwide cooperation, no doubt. But at the same time, to fight that feeling of alienation that can come with these huge impersonal systems, we need to actively rebuild strong community bonds, right where you live.
So think globally, connect locally.
Sort of, yeah. It's about that balance. And finally, number 4, engage in the ethical debate.
Meaning?
These technologies we're talking about, the ones that could reshape humanity. Decisions are being made now. In labs, boardrooms, government committees, it's absolutely crucial that the public demands a voice, demands oversight, and real deliberation. If we don't shape these conversations...
And the future gets designed for us, not by us. That's a powerful set of guidelines. And it leads back to Harari's final point, doesn't it? That kind of chilling but also galvanizing thought. You, listening right now, you're part of the first species in 4 billion years with the power to actually end natural selection. To write the next chapter of evolution, we have these godlike powers emerging, but maybe, as Harari suggests, we still have the irresponsibility of chimps, the anxieties of hunter-gatherers. So the ultimate question he leaves you with, the one to really ponder, is this. What kind of ancestors will you be?
That's all for this episode of the Deep Dive Cast. Thanks for joining us. We hope you gained some valuable insights. Be sure to tune in next time for another deep dive into the world's best ideas. Until then, keep learning and growing.